it's Sarah with sarahscoop.com, and I'm here to give you the scoop on all of your favorite things. Welcome to The Sarah Scoop Show. Hi everyone, and welcome back to The Sarah Scoop Show. Today we have guest Alissa Musto, and she is here with us to just give us the scoop on everything she's been up to. And you know, you're a very inspiring, motivating person, and I think that people watching this and listening to it are really going to get a lot from you. So we're excited. Do you want to kind of just give everyone a background of yourself? Even just looking at your Twitter bio, I'm like, this girl has done so much.
Well, thank you for having me, of course, Sarah. And hopefully my story, it does motivate people, gives people a little inspiration. Like you said, my name is Alissa Musto. Primarily, I'm a singer-songwriter, but I'm also a musician, a blogger. In the past, I've worked as a TV show host. I'm a former Miss Massachusetts, and done a little bit of everything in between.
So what was that like? Did you get into music from the pageants, from the hosting? What got you into music? Because that's obviously your passion.
Yeah, it was the reverse way. I got into pageants because of the music. I started playing the piano when I was 4 years old, and I grew up in a family of professional musicians. I joke around that I didn't really have a choice in the matter. I had the piano teacher living with me, so I was going to play whether I liked it or not. But fortunate for me, I loved it. I performed all throughout high school, and it's always been a part of me. The pageants didn't come later on until I was finishing up college. I was working at a music store after school, and a woman approached me, and she confused me for another pageant contestant.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, that's never something in a million years that I would ever do. And friends that know me from then say the same thing. Like, that was, so out of character, kind of a plot twist. So I looked more into what the Miss America organization was all about. And I found out that they were the largest scholarship provider for women in the world. And it would also be an opportunity to get on stage, to perform a talent. So I gave it a go.
So for young women who are, they look up to winners of pageants, and to you it seems like it's more than just the beauty of it. It's like showing your talent and what the organization stands for. So what advice do you have for young girls who want to compete in pageants as you did?
Absolutely. Well, I would say the most important thing is make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. You don't need a crown on your head to be a role model, to be a volunteer, to be an advocate, to do all of these things. And the ideal pageant queen, you can say, would be someone that would be doing those things anyway. So it's not about, sure, the fashion and the glamour and the galas, those are all very cool aspects of it. But make sure you're getting involved for the right reasons. It's really a chance to have a voice for that year, to make an opportunity, to make a difference in your community, to interact with a lot of people. Because it's not just winning the pageant and you're done. It's a full-time job, it's a full-time commitment, and you really have an opportunity to make an impact.
And so going off of that, with your music, you're making an impact by, sharing words through lyrics. And how do you find the inspiration for those? Are these real people, real stories? Is this your real life coming out in the form of songs?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot because most of my songs I am singing in the first person. I'm using I. And even amongst friends, sometimes I have to remind them, hey, I didn't write this song about me. Maybe I wrote it about something I heard in the news or something that a friend's going through. But this is not necessarily my experience. Some of the newer music that I'm working on now is reflecting more of my personal experiences and people I know and their stories. So that's going to be interesting when they hear these songs for the first time. But I like to say that my music is based on a true story. Maybe it's somebody that I've met and then I sort of dramatize the details around it. Because at the end of the day, as a lyricist, I'm a storyteller. We still have to make it interesting. We're still trying to tell a story, maybe not exactly the way it happened.
I mean, it just seems like you are doing so many amazing things. How do you keep going in a world like pageants and music, and even you said you have a blog? Like, all of those things are very competitive, and there's so many people out there doing them. What do you do? Tell yourself, motivate yourself. How do you do it?
Well, in the pageant world, we have a saying that you're not really competing against the other girls out there on stage. You get your individualized score and you're competing against yourself. And I think that really really translates well into life. You know, I'm not competing against this singer-songwriter or this pageant girl or this blogger. You know, I am competing against myself. I am going to be my biggest, you know, cheerleader, but I'm also going to be the biggest thing getting in my own way. So I think once you're really able to step outside of that and realize, okay, I'm here, I'm doing my own thing, it doesn't matter what other people are doing, then you can achieve so much more, because at that point, the potential, the cap that you've put on yourself is obliterated.
What is it like for you when you do hear your music for the first time? Like, obviously, I think a lot of people don't realize how much work can go into a 2-minute song. Like, what is that like for you?
It's exciting. It's exciting. You know, after you finish a song and you're performing it for the first time, you're so excited. It's this giddy feeling like, wow, I wrote that. I did that. And even every now and then I'll go back and I'll listen to songs, you know, I was writing when I was in high school. You know, things I was recording early on in college. And, you know, I listen to some of the lyrics and sometimes I cringe. And I'm like, oh, my goodness, what was I thinking? What was I talking about? You know, I thought I had it all figured out then. If I could only go back and, you know, see how my perspective has changed. But on the other hand, a lot of times I listen to things that I've written in the past and I'm like, wow, it's amazing that even then, you know, my attitude towards certain things hasn't really wavered very much. You know, my ambitions and my drives and sort of my mentality and mindset is still very much me. So it's cool to see, you know, how much I've grown personally, you know, not just as a songwriter, but what's important to me personally, and how that's evolved, but also what's remained consistent.
So what does the songwriting process look like?
It all starts with an idea. You know, I like to think I have one, you know, it comes to me or it doesn't. You know, more often than not, ideas are not coming to me, unfortunately.
Do you have a place that you go for motivation then?
No, I don't. No. I don't, you know, I have, you know, I have my practice room, and that's kind of where things get worked out, and that's where all the real hard blood, sweat, and tears, go to say, happens. But the inspiration, you know, sort of comes from everywhere. You know, it could be a person or something that I've read somewhere, and I'm like, wow, you know, of course, my mind right away goes, wow, that'd be a really good idea for a song. You know, most people will meet a guy and be like, oh, you know, maybe there's a potential with them. I'm like, no, I could write a song about that guy. So the inspiration comes from a little bit of everywhere. And once I kind of have a plot, you know, in my head, then I kind of work off from there. And musically, I'll just fool around on the piano until something works. You know, I'll put my cell phone on, record, and I'll just play around until I come up with something that's substantial.
And so what does the process look like then? So you have this song, you're like, this is great, like I've, you know, really worked hard on this, like here's the music, here's the lyrics, this is me singing, like I love it. Like how do you get that out there for people to hear?
So once I've finished that, I don't go to the studio right away because I know I'm going to change my mind. You know, it's like you are in this honeymoon phase with your song after you finish it. You know, it's perfect. It doesn't need any revisions. But after a few weeks, you know, you realize, well, maybe this would be better placed here, or this would sound better here. Maybe I could change some of these notes, or I'm not liking the way this sounds. So I try to give myself a little buffer period there before I go into the studio and record. And once I do, once I feel like I'm really confident, I'll go in with my producer, we record, we, you know, go back and forth. Sometimes he has suggestions. And once we get those out, I'll put it on for the whole internet to hear.
Yeah, that's so cool. So what do you, like, when people are responding to your music, what do you hope to get out of sharing a message through song and lyrics? I
hope that one person is listening and they go, wow, I thought I was the only one that felt like that. That's so cool that I can relate to that too. And I try to cover a different sort of perspective with my songs. I try to talk about things or perspectives or situations that maybe have been, you know, addressed a million times, but not in that particular way. And like I said before, I'm a storyteller with my songs, so I try to keep people entertained, but I want people to, you know, feel like they can relate, like that they are listening to something they haven't heard before.
Can you tell us a little about your new EP?
Absolutely. So Post Facto is the one that I released earlier this year. And I was really proud of this one because this was just really me. It's primarily piano, vocals, not a lot of editing. And I was a little afraid to put out some of the content. When I was writing this album, I was finishing up my year as Miss Massachusetts. So I was a little worried to put my personal life, out there so much. Especially, I was working with a lot of children at the time as a piano teacher, and there were just things that I was worried. I was worried about really making myself vulnerable, putting myself out there, and how people would respond to it. These were feelings or issues that I wasn't even talking about with family and friends, and then I'm putting it out there for the world to hear, on the internet, which is a lot to swallow. But the response that I got from it was overwhelmingly really great, and people said that it was, hauntingly beautiful. And I think the best, compliment I could have ever received was I had a music blogger and critic tell me that, I sounded like my generation's Billy Joel.
Aww.
And when he said that, that's why I said, there's something to be said about, honesty and vulnerability in music. Maybe some people are hearing my songs and, I wrote the song about them and that's embarrassing and that's awkward and, whatever. But the benefits have definitely outweighed any awkward moments.
With all of that being said, we didn't mention this, but where are you located at?
So I'm primarily based in Boston, Massachusetts. I split a lot of time between here and New York City, and I've also been traveling a ton.
Do you feel like, I imagine a lot of people that will be watching this or listening to it are very inspired by you and they want to be like a singer or a songwriter and they want to follow in your footsteps. Do you feel like, you started young, like when you were 4 playing the piano, but a lot of people find their dream later on in life. Do you think you're like where you live at and your experience, like all of those things are in your favor? And that's the kind of advice like someone should move to New York to be pursuing that type of career, or what is your opinion on all of that?
I don't think you need to be in New York City to be pursuing what you need to pursuing what you love to do. I don't think you need to be doing it your whole life. The advantage of playing the piano since I was 4 years old, it technically as a musician, I'm, very advanced in my field, but that quite honestly isn't a requirement, to be doing the songwriting that I'm doing, to be working in the field like I'm working. So it's definitely been a benefit, but I wouldn't say that it's a necessity. And I would say before you move to, a big city like New York or Boston, establish yourself locally. Have a product, have music, have a skill set that you're really proud of, because they are completely, being completely honest, they're very competitive markets. And there's a million people trying to do the same exact thing. So don't be afraid to start small and to really hone in on your craft and really be, not only working on yourself as a musician, but as a person. Make sure you're 100% confident, because when you do go to those bigger markets, you're going to get torn down. You're going to have criticism. You're going to have obstacles. And only the strongest people that are, strong mentally and strong with their craft are going to be the ones that can, go to the next level.
I feel like you have just such good advice, not only career-wise, but all of these things can pertain to someone's life and just like every day, day to day. Do you just kind of like, I just feel like you could share a great message. Do you want to just like kind of sum it up? I know we're like about to end up our interview, but just kind of like, what words of encouragement do you have for people? You've gotten to do so many amazing things, and you have people that are following you. They're watching you sing. They're seeing you in pageants, and they want to do those things. So what would you tell them?
I would say don't set a limit for yourself. Don't categorize yourself, and don't let small setbacks influence you in the long run. You know what you have to do. You know what you want to do, and I've had a billion people tell me that it's not going to work out, that this is not going to work, that you're wasting your time with this. And career-wise, I'm nowhere where I want to be, but I've already surpassed so many expectations. I've surpassed my own expectations, so it's only upward from here.
I love that. Well, what's the best way to connect with you? Like, if we want to find you, I know you're traveling, singing. Do you have tour coming up or dates? Like, what's next where we can follow you and join in your singing?
The best way to keep in touch with me is through my social media on Facebook, Instagram. Just look under Alissa Musto. That's ALISSA MUSTO. And you can also find all of my original music on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, iTunes, wherever you listen to music, it's going to be there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alissa. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe to The Sarah Scoop Show.